So up until tonight, I have done pretty heavy tones, except for that one. And this one is going to be an exception because, as you can tell by the title that you clicked on to get here, this is going to be more of a 70s rock Aerosmith Mama Kin sound. And it's a tone that was kind of eluding me because it's that tin canny sound from that album that I was trying to really attain. And it was kind of difficult at times. And sometimes when I did attain it, it was like I felt like I had to drive too much or the treble too much or just the opposite. So I hope I got there. Tonight we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I've had a couple of people say, I love what you're doing, but can you explain what you're doing? You turn all the knobs, you do all these settings, but I'm not really learning anything of why you're using those settings. So from now on, the video is going to be a little bit longer as I explain them to you. Now, I'm not going to over-explain myself, and if you know a way to achieve the same sound a better way, keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. By all means, share it in the comments because that's how we all learn. And sometimes I fiddle back and forth with stuff so much that it just, I get tired and I finally settle on something. I'm like, okay, maybe that's just the way it's going to be. And some things within the tone are just simplified things that I have found in other tones that I have recycled and reused and tweaked to my own liking. So anyway, let's get started. Tonight I'm using a Squier Classic Vibe Thin Line Telecaster Deluxe Sweetwater exclusive. You can't really see it, but it's like a sapphire blue. They're really hard to find right now because they're not making them anymore, and I'm glad I grabbed this one when I did, and I loves it. So we got our clean tone. I'm using the bridge pickup. So clean you can barely hear it. So let's give it some volume first off. Let's just get it so we can kind of hear it. And I'm going to just use a clean amp because, like I said, no, I didn't say it. I said it last time I was trying to record this and totally screwed up. This tone, it's got that tinny sound, but it's also very clean and dry, but yet it's dirty. It's a dirty, clean tone. And I was trying to read up on it, and Joe Perry at the time, they think he just was plugged into some amp pegs with him, just the volume just cranked, and it just gave it that sound to it. So that's what we're going to try to achieve with a clean amp. I've tried it with an overdriven amp, but it just seemed a little too much. And we're going to hit that volume up to 85 just to get some volume. And we're going to, let's get this on the edge of breakup. We're going to go up to 65 on the gain, and you can hear it's just starting to break up a little bit. All right. Over on the bass, now with the amp EQs, I just kind of dial them in. I know this song has kind of a lot of treble, and it's got a lot of mids to it. So I try to not to be too liberal with the mids. I have it up to about 75, and I have the treble up to about 77, which kind of gives it that tinny, twangy sound to it. And I just give it a little more bass, that's all. I don't want to give it too much and have it overwhelming. Now, I do have it on the vintage amp because we want to go for a vintage sound. And this song also has a decent amount of presence, so I've got it up to about 72. And we can... It sounds very chimey right now. So let's add a little kick to it, and we're going to go... Before we go to the booster, let me show you. I've got chain 2-1 on. It puts the mod and the booster before the amplifier, and that's about it. We could use chain 3 as well, but I think it sounds a little bigger and brighter in chain 2. Now, if we're going to go to the booster, first let's go to system. I know I'm all over the place tonight, I'm sorry. And I've just got it setting so the line out airfield is just going to be recording. You can tweak those to your settings if you like, but this is as close as it's going to sound through coming out of that speaker as I've explained before. So let's go over to the booster. Now with this one, I fought between the Governor DS and the clean boost, and they both sound about the same. I even tried some other overdrives on here like the warm and natural overdrive, but the clean and the Governor DS kind of offered a bottom end to it that I liked, that kind of helped the sound. So let's go over here. We're just going to go right up to clean boost, and we'll bounce back and forth. Tube Screamer just had too much treble to it, and it was a little too much, so I didn't want to use a Tube Screamer. So we're just doing a clean boost on a clean amp, and taking it from the edge of breakup to a lot more. And we're going to turn the boost on, and the drive we're just going to have down to 0. We're going to get that tone and tone up to 12, and the bottom was up to 25. And I had the effects level right up to 71. This is where we're actually boosting it, is the level. And now you can hear it's pushing it right over the edge. All right. Next, we're gonna skip over the mod for now. We're gonna come back to that, and we're just gonna go over to FX, and I've got a graphic equalizer set up here, and I'm gonna explain where I got these equalizer settings from. Now I'm gonna go -4. I'm gonna set them all up, and then I'm just gonna show you -4, -2, -1, +2, +1. -1, -1, -2, -5, and -8. And I bumped this up to 6 just to give it some volume, just to boost that EQ up, because once you turn all these down, it kind of brings your signal down. Now let me explain why I did that. We're going to go over to Isotope, Ozone, maximize that. Let me come over here and minimize myself here. So what I do is I take the song and I drop it right up in here, and it loads it. And then I use this match EQ down here, and this just gets it in a ballpark. This isn't a perfect way to do it. By no means is this a perfect way to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit match EQ, and I'm going to hit the capture, and I'm going to let it play for the first few seconds of the intro. I'm not trying to get this demonetized either, so I got to be careful. And I'm going to change over a setting real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that, and I'm going to capture the EQs. So I stopped at just shy of 6 seconds, so I'm trying not to get demonetized here. And as you can see, we got all these EQ peaks, and I just come right down here. I go to 31, and I kind of guesstimate right around here, and I just go right on down the line of what our frequencies are. So at 62, I measure it, and so on and so forth, and I try to match it up and get that EQ curve going on there. Like I said, it's not perfect by any means, but it kind of gets your guitar EQ'd into the ballpark. So now we're back in full mode here, and we've got our EQ dialed in. I don't quite understand all the frequencies of EQ. I'm still trying to study up on it and learn them. So that way I know exactly what I'm doing here. Now when I'm playing with it, I can hear the difference, but I really don't, I don't know exactly how to dial it in perfectly. But whenever you see an EQ curve, it's usually in that general shape. You just got to get it right. So we got the EQ dialed in. Next, we're going straight to a reverb. Now the reverb, I'm just using a good old spring reverb. And reverb's totally optional. You just don't even need it in this, to be totally honest with you. We got the spring set at 2.0 for reverb time. Now these are just settings I dialed in because they sounded good as far as the reverb go. There's no huge rhyme or reason why I got these exact settings in there. I just went through as I was playing with it and strumming, and when you're building tones, you're strumming and you're strumming and adjusting until it sounds right to you. And then the density I had set at 4. The color was at 100. And the effects level I had turned down. I didn't want too much reverb in there. Without it. See, that's totally up to you. I don't think the song has a whole lot in there, but I like the reverb in there, so that's what I do. There's no solo or contour or pedal effects in there. Our noise suppressor is fine because we're not making a whole lot of noise here. We'll go back over to our Parametric EQ. Now the Parametric EQ, as I kind of explained at the beginning, it's a setting that I found somebody else's setting in a different tone. And I started using it, and I started carrying it over, and I started tweaking the low gain, the high gain, all the gains, and then learning to kind of dial in the cuts and the low, mid, and high mid frequencies. And that's just like the reverb. I would sit there and strum away and make an adjustment until it sounded good to me. So let's turn it on. We're going to use amp out because amp in sounds weird and thin. I got the low gain decibels at 7 and the low cut at 200. And then I got this set at 315 and the low mid gain at 3. And I'm not sure exactly what these two are. I could read you the definitions of them, but I don't really hear a huge difference when I'm playing with them, so I just leave them alone. Now the mid gain, I bump up to 5 decibels, and all these are really doing up here is boosting my signal, boosting the mids, boosting the low gains, all that stuff. My high gain, I got about 5, and I just got this on 2. I found anything above 2, I was getting kind of a static sound, like a distorted sound in my headphones. I got this set at 5 because 5 seems to be a perfect number on the high cut. And the high mid frequency, I've got set at 1 on this one, but we can play around with it just a little bit. See if I got all my settings matched up like they're supposed to. And let's hear how it sounds right now. All right, it sounded pretty good. But the mod, I think the mod is what really pushed it over. Let's take that mod and we're going to put a fat compressor on it. And the fat compressor, the sustain is about 60. Attack was down at about 37. I don't want it too twangy. And then the tone, I had to turn the tone down because it was a little too much. We're going to bump the level up to 50 here. Down to 7. And I think we have just about everything set like I did in the patch. Now you just don't have to use this just for Mamakin. You could use this for just about any kind of 70s-ish rock. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just a cool overall, clean yet dirty, I don't know how many times I've said that, rock tone. And I dig it. And it's from 50 years ago. I'm cutting it close to 50. I'm old. Anyway, if you don't want to do all this nonsense, and you just want to skip a 15, 17-minute video, however long this is, and just want to go ahead and download it and use it, it's down there. It's down there in the description. I got it on my Google Drive or Dropbox, and you just download it, plug it in, play it, and ignore all this annoying nonsense that I'm doing right now. But you've watched this far, so hey, that's on you. We'll see you next time.